Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. Welcome here to the beautiful hills above Orange County, California. It's a rainy day though and quite chilly. And welcome to arguably one of my dream cars, the Audi RS6 Avant. The wagon, the fast wagon, and it is just totally awesome in so many ways. Now, it's a huge claim for me to say this is one of the best cars ever, but I mean it objectively and subjectively. Let's start with first, the opinion of most automotive journalists is that just wagons are awesome. I can't imagine anyone ever giving this a bad review just based off of principle. You can put all your stuff inside of it, your dogs, your life. You can put a roof box on top. It's got all-wheel drive, quattro system, of course, and then it's got 600 horsepower, as near as makes no difference, and it's just absolutely insane. The spec on this particular one is a little bit old manish, and I kind of like it. We're on the silver 22s, black paint with the, I believe it's cognac, but brown interior. Take a look at this. A couple little things laying around. Beautiful double roof up there. Nice car for sure. This particular one's been ragged on too. It's got 9,000 something miles, or nearest makes no difference. So we're going to see how well this particular car is held up with so many journalist miles on them. We have the exhaust out the rear, typical RS oval shape. Interesting in terms of drivetrain, it uses a 4-liter twin-turbo V8. I'll pop the hood and show you. But then it also has a mild hybrid system on it as well. Now take a look at these headlights. This one has the laser light option. They're just insane. They even have, in the US right now, adaptive driving beam, or I should say high beam, is not quite legal. You know, the matrix functionality that we all know and love. Oh, I can't open the hood because someone broke the hood release. I forgot about that. I really apologize. That was no fault of Audi's. That was just broken. So I can't show you under the hood right now. However, yeah, so we cannot have like the matrix LED function, but at nighttime it has this extra beam right down the center. It's like a blaster mode, and it just really lights up right down the road in front of you, especially on the highway. You can just see for miles. It's totally insane. No carbon ceramics on this car. We're rolling on the stock steel brakes. We'll see how they hold up on a hard mountain blast, although again, it's cold, rainy, wet, so we're not going to go too hard. We're on P0s, not all seasons or anything like that. It almost feels like it could turn to snow if we keep going higher. Pretty wild, the temperature changes. But let's jump in the car. Let's go for a drive and talk about how cool fast wagons are. Jordan, welcome to the RS6 Avant.
What a car.
What a car. Forrest is behind us in the Golf R.
Baby brother.
Baby brother. It's actually kind of funny. So we have the new Mark 8 Golf R, which is essentially, you know, they're the fastest hot hatch in the Volkswagen lineup. Yep. And this is the fastest hot hatch in the Audi lineup, but more of an estate than a hatch. But let's talk about just this car as a daily driver first before we really shred it. And there's a couple different settings and things that I had to go through to get it set up exactly how I wanted. For example, like every time you put in Audi RS in RS mode, you get the ugliest gauges in the world coming up on the screen. Have you ever seen those? Yeah. They're so bad. I just like the circles on the screen. So you have to go like 9 menus deep and then say, you know, don't change to RS mode every time you put it in RS mode. And then the same thing with the heads-up display, it goes into RS mode. I don't want that either. Yep. So I've now got it figured out where I have, basically, I only drive the car in one or two modes, and I have them here on the steering wheel, which is nice. I have RS1 as everything is comfortable, but the diff and sport. So if there's ever an opportunity for a little bit of rotation, I can do that. And then I also have RS2 set as everything maxi max mode, but the steering one back from full stiff. Yeah. So that's what we're in right now. Driving this car around daily. I've used it all week to do airport shuttles. I took it on a road trip, and it was just insane, and that's so good. And this thing eats miles like nothing else. I mean, you drove it today a little bit. What do you think?
It's so comfortable, and it just has power on tap, other than the delay, but it's so fast on the highway.
Yeah, we'll get into the delay in a little bit, but the comfort side of the suspension is insane. So,
really, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've driven E63, I've driven, I mean, that's really its main competitor, and that car beats you up to no end. Yep. Whereas this car is just uber comfortable. Now, just because it's a big, giant turbo V8 engine, it's got some lag, so foot down, but man, does it freaking doesn't it? And look, it knows that the brakes are wet. See that? It just went away.
That's amazing.
It said brakes are wet. Damn, this thing freaking puts the speed on like nothing else, doesn't it?
And so comfortably. Like,
and
I'm perfectly happy right here.
So
I can be on a racetrack, sipping tea.
So you cannot get massaging seats with the brown interior, at least according to the configurator that I found.
That's a disappointment.
That's a disappointment, because this is the best interior.
Yeah, you want the brown and you want to be in maximum comfort.
I'm not a fan of like super black interiors, and Audi is always black interior and everything, and they do interiors better than almost anyone, no question. The quality, the infotainment's good. I did notice the infotainment was a little slow sometimes.
Yep, it was glitchy for me. Yep.
And that's the first time I've ever driven or experienced this MMI system to be slow. So I wonder if it's because of the extra RS menus or what exactly, because I've used this system in other cars and it was totally fine. Damn, does this thing boogie out of a corner though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Look at this, down the straightaway. Rev limiter. Nice. Bop, 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 bop.
Sounds great.
This thing freaking shreds. Wow. So, cruising down the highway at like 80 miles an hour, it sits at like 1500 RPM. It's just like no revs. It doesn't get great fuel economy. Even just driving around normally, I think I've averaged like about 15 mpg, and that's not a scientific test. If we had this car in Colorado, we could run it through our MPG loop. We didn't do that, of course, but that kind of hurts a little bit.
Yeah.
Is like, I feel like the Mercedes stuff is a bit more efficient when you drive it gently than this is. But again, we didn't do a scientific test, so it's hard to say other than just gut feeling on that. Why don't you share what you want to share about the car? You spoke about a delay. It's like foot down, has to drop all those gears when driving normally.
Builds up anticipation because you know what's coming. And yeah, as far as fuel economy, I guess it's probably not target market concern, because you buy this car because you want peak hatch. It's not even hatchback. It's really
peak wagon performance.
Yeah, and this is my favorite wagon on sale. I think hands down.
So you'd go for this over E63?
Yep.
Wow, and what about Taycan Sport Turismo?
Both. The Taycan, it's amazing how small the Taycan feels compared to this.
It's true. The Taycan has no room compared to this car.
And I like that. I mean, coming from a Miata, the Taycan felt like perfectly good size, like sedan with a little bit of extra room in the hatch. So I would prefer the Taycan because I'm used to working with small spaces. But people who really want storage, this is storage for days. You could take this across the country for 3 months and never buy new clothes.
I mean, it's pretty insane just how much room there is in this car. Now, I've always said, and we had this car with the Taycan GTS Sport Turismo, which I think is like the perfect his and hers combination. Yep. Here's the thing that I come back to in this car. Look, our audience are a big electric vehicle audience. I'm an EV guy, but I love this. This is what captures my heart. It's a hard question to say, if I didn't have a YouTube channel where I needed to make electric car videos, would I buy, because I'm the target audience for this car, right? And I'm shopping for a car that does exactly what this car does. So here we are, actually consumer advice right here. Do I go RS6 Avant or Taycan Sport Turismo? Or Cross Turismo, but I think Sport Turismo is a more fair comparison, especially when you consider price, because this is, spec for spec, this is about $10,000, $15,000 less than that car.
Yeah. Yeah, I would do Sport Turismo, but...
You would do Sport Turismo.
Yeah.
The thing that I come back to is this car on a road trip is insane.
Yeah.
Once it's moving on the highway, it's good, but this is what kind of bugs me about it. If we're driving in RS1, which is how I've been cruising around, which is like full comfort mode, and I roll into the throttle and I want to pass someone, right? So I'm going to hit the throttle now. Downshift. Then we go. Right? So like it's crazy fast.
Yeah.
But just rolling in to like make a maneuver is like, okay, let's just wait for it.
Yep.
Now the other option is just if you slap it in S mode and stab the throttle, it's serious.
Yeah.
Like it's in first gear right now. I'll just get it moving and then I'll nail it here in a second after this corner, and I'll show you just the stellar, like when you tell this thing you want it to go, it does do that. So here we go. Ready? We're just cruising, stab it.
And then it just sends you,
Yeah, and it's just, but it's very odd and hard to get good mid-throttle acceleration in this car. And also when you snap off of it mid-boost, you feel just, poof,
yeah,
just cuts power, which I guess you want, but it's almost too aggressive on power cut when you lift off the throttle. Beautiful road here, isn't it?
This is fantastic.
This car also has rear steering, so you can feel, I don't know if you can feel it, but I can feel it around some of these corners, helping to pivot the car, especially these low speed ones.
Yeah, very minor like the Taycan. It's definitely not Mercedes 10-degree rear steering, but it helps.
Yeah, I've just slapped it back into RS2 going, full brakes. Great ABS pedal feedback right there, and strong braking performance even in the wet. I mean, we're on the wrong tire for this. It's so fun driving this car hard. Now, last night, I wish I was recording because I took it down Los Flores Canyon in Malibu, and absolutely bombed it. And that's like a little tiny, like Miata road type situation. And yeah, I really felt that the car was too big for that road. See, at the end of the day, the thing that I think I'm taking away with this car is the RS6 is a conversation piece. Everyone wants to talk about it. Everyone's into it, including me. Whenever I see an RS6 owner, I'm like, oh, dude, that's awesome. So cool.
Yeah, you know immediately they have good taste.
Yeah, they're into cars. Like, you're not going to buy this car if you're like, I just need to, like, transportation. You're going to buy, like, an SQ5.
Yeah, most people go for the full CUV, SUV. This is like,
this
you
is
know,
for
they're a car
enthusiasts.
enthusiast.
And so, you know, this is just so good. Just power out of these corners, too. It's pretty good. Now the steering, I mean, it's not really worth doing like a performance driving evaluation, because I think here's the target buyer for this car. You have your R8 in the garage. You have your GT3 in your garage. You have your 458, whatever your fun car is. This is the daily, right, for the guys who have the big collections.
Yeah.
And why would you need this car to drive well on a back road?
Yeah.
You know, what we really should be doing to review this car is sitting on the highway at 70 miles an hour in city traffic, because that's the intended purpose. And I think that's where Audi got this car right. Yeah. Because the E-Class is way too rough. Even like the mid-spec AMG stuff beats you up way too much. This thing like wafts down the road. It rides like an e-tron. Yeah. It's so nice. But then it's got that insane power if you want. If I got one, I'd put a louder exhaust on it. This one does not have the sport exhaust. Yeah. And it's just, it's the perfect daily driver for when you need to haul stuff. I'd put a roof box on it, dogs in the back.
These 22s look so good.
Yeah, at first I was like, oh, the silver 22s, you know, silver and black, looks really good. Yeah. Really, really, really good. And even my friends at Audi were like, oh, the fun colors are somewhere else. I'm like, no, 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 that's good. This is supposed to be the understated daily driver. And yeah, what I'm taking, and we'll flip around and go back up the other way, but what I'm taken back by in this car is just how comfortable it is to get in, start up. It has a mild hybrid system with stop start. It'll shut off at 14 miles an hour. For the most part though, that was actually kind of annoying, I have to say. Yeah. Sometimes like the startup on a V8 is just hard to ignore. I think Mercedes does a better job with mild hybrid technology.
Yeah, the startup is interesting on this.
Should we launch it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if it has full launch control per se, but let's see. Left foot to the floor, flooring it with the right. Nope, let it go. Oh yeah, launch control active. Struggling for traction, slams the gear, slams third. Straight up a hill, we were just like, what? The car's just trying to get traction anywhere.
This has got to be one of the best daily drivers.
That's exactly what it comes down to. It's a daily driver that if you happen to like commute on a road like this, it can do. It's not as hardcore as the E63 is, and I think that's the best thing for this car. Yeah. Audi has nailed the use case, which is make it look awesome, make it kind of hard to get, right? That keeps like the cool factor kind of high, because you can't just walk into a store and buy one of these, at least for sticker. I think they're all going over sticker.
Yeah, you don't see that many of them, so it's that like rarity thing that people with the collector's cars appreciate.
I will say though, coming down the canyon last night, if I had one, I would get the ceramics. Yeah. Because the brakes were getting a little toasty. Just stopping this car just into every corner. So ceramics. Also, it helps with brake dust, which the wheels are covered in brake dust. I have no idea how that could have happened, but
yeah, they were silver when we got it. Now they're kind of gunmetal.
Yeah, we've turned the silver wheels away from silver, and you just put everything you want in it. Look, you sit kind of high in the car. You're not like inside. It's not race car mode. It's a daily. Mm-hmm. It's just the coolest daily you could ever have. And I think honestly, for me, yeah, this and Taycan Sport Turismo, very different buyers. and but they both are sort of for the enthusiast, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
This is for the combustion car enthusiast who wants, you know, again, just putting all your stuff in there. I think the Taycan's more for like the future mobility enthusiast, but still loves driving and values that. Because I think this car's main competitor isn't the E63 in my eyes. I don't think people are going, should I go E63 Wagon or RS6? I think that's the question of, are you a Mercedes guy or Volkswagen Audi Group guy? But within Volkswagen Audi Group, there's the Taycan, which I think people are cross-shopping. I mean, we met so many people this week who were like, oh, I don't know if I'd do that or a Taycan.
Yeah.
Sport Turismo, right? So that's the car that kept coming up, not the E63.
Yeah, I never thought about that, but people, that's what they say. That's what they compare it to.
Right, I mean, we had so many conversations. No one ever mentioned the E63. Everyone's like, oh, that or the Wagon Taycan would be so cool.
Yeah.
And yes, they both are very cool, and I think that's a good his and hers combo.
Yep.
And they're both great Colorado cars. They'd be both perfect for my use case. So Audi, if you ever want to send one to Colorado for a little while,
yeah,
we'll gladly do a daily driver test for 2-3 years, something like that.
Plenty of consumer advice to offer.
And man, this transmission is just stellar when you get up it.
So what do you think of the steering?
Not good.
Not good, yeah.
No. It's like the Golf behind us.
Yeah.
There's nothing coming through the steering to me. And the ratio is a little lax, to be honest. I mean, it goes where I want it to go, but you kind of just like, you just say turn, and then the car eventually does its thing. There's no feedback through here. But I love the rear steer.
Yeah.
The rear steer every car should have, any long wheelbase car. Super magical. I wish we could really shred this thing hard, but too bad for the rain and Subaru Outbacks.
What is this, Colorado?
Let's end the video with a question, shall we?
Yep.
Is the Subaru Outback a wagon? What do you think?
Yeah.
You think
I'm gonna go with
wagon
yes.
love for Outback?
Hot take. It's a wagon.
That is a hot take.
Yep.
I think yes as well.
Yep.
Although I kind of don't want it to be.
Should we define wagon? Do you know what that definition is?
No, what is the definition of wagon?
So there's some controversy.
It's where the roof bends after the rear axle, right?
Officially, yeah. The hinge of the rear, the back door, the hatch. Does the hinge of the hatch line up or behind the rear axle? That's what Mike, director of Taycan, said. Other people have said where the roof ends at the back of the rear wheel well. Some people just say it has to have an A, B, C, and D pillar. There's a lot of so yeah, as far as I can tell.
Anyway, hashtag long roof society. Either way,
keep the wagons alive.
And Audi's doing the best job of it.
Yep.
And guess what? These things are the freaking business. How many people? I'm getting thumbs up in this car. I went to the grocery store the other day and had like a crowd around this thing, and it's just it's a station wagon.
Yep.
But it has 600 horsepower and a 4-liter twin turbocharged V8 that just. That rev limiter, I've been hitting it so much because it's just pop, 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 pop. So good.
Good pops. Yeah.
Needs a sport exhaust. Thanks so much for watching another Out of Spec Reviews video. If you couldn't tell, this has been the perfect car this week. The way I've used it, just, you know, to share, we held our big event this weekend. This was the shuttle car to the airport. I had to go to a bunch of different driving events and just literally drove the car like a daily, and it's sublime. Great sound system. Bang & Olufsen in this one.
Yep.
I don't even think it's like the max upgraded sound system either, and it's really good. Yeah. Just want massaging seats with brown leather.
Take note, Audi.
Take note, Audi.